Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another Top Cut breakdown video. In today's video, we have two tournaments to talk about, one of which was the PPG Otakon regional, and the other one is a regional from Germany. The thing about the Otakon event, though, guys, is that apparently it broke the 128 player cap, which means more people signed up than the tournament actually technically allowed for, but I guess they let the extra players play, which is such an awesome thing. I mean, obviously, we all hope and pray that Dragon Ball Super keeps growing and growing, right? And that's what we all want for the game. And I am super happy to report that at a convention, no less, this tournament broke the player cap. So many people wanted to play Dragon Ball Super. A couple of my friends that went said that they saw just like a lot of new players there as well, which I'm just so happy to report on, guys. It's such an awesome thing for our game, so just want to get that out there. But anyways, we'll talk about these tournaments in today's video. If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways to do so down in the description. But today, in the spirit of a competitive tournament, if you guys want to step your game up, consider checking out the Patreon down in the description. Not only can you read the competitive articles that I post there, you guys can also inquire about coaching if you guys are interested in that. Anyways, let's get started talking about the Otakon event. So Otakon down in Washington, D.C., the PPG regional, we have 136 players. So again, the player cap was 128, and 136 players showed up and wanted to play, and I guess they kind of made accommodations to allow that to happen. It was a best of one pre-side event. So the way that best of one pre-side has been working, which I guess I didn't really talk about too much in the Philly recap, I don't think, they're doing Swiss rounds +2. So since it's a best of one tournament, the rounds are much shorter. The rounds are about 35 minutes. What they're doing in BO1 pre-side, though, is they're doing Swiss. So there's always a certain number of rounds you're supposed to play based on the number of players in attendance. And what they're doing is they're adding 2 rounds to that. So since they're doing best of one, even with sideboarding, which is supposed to reduce variance, which is a great thing, by the way, I love this format, they're also adding 2 rounds so that even if you did have a kind of a poor RNG round or a bad variance round, you have 2 more rounds in Swiss to kind of make up for that and still get your shot to enter Top Cut. And because it was over 128 players, we actually had a top 8. So the thing about this is that's a little weird with this Swiss +2 stuff, is that if it's less than 128 players, they only cut the top 4, as far as I'm aware. I might not be getting that 100% correct, but I'm pretty sure it's how it works. It's how it worked at Philly. If it's less than 128 players, it's only a top 4 cut, which feels very small for that number of players, even if it's like 100 plus players. But again, with the Swiss +2, that's there to reduce variance and give us a more true top cut. But since this was at and above the player cap of 128, we actually got a top 8 playoff with, I believe, 10 rounds of Swiss, which is sounding crazy, but again, only 30 minutes per round, so cut that in half. It's not too bad. But anyways, let's talk about top 8 here. So first of all, first place goes to Blue Baby, my teammate Mike Ricciuti. Huge shout outs to the man, the myth, the legend. This has honestly been his format. I'm so proud of him. I know the whole team is so proud of him. He has been not only crushing at this format, but also guiding our other teammates to real good success in this meta. I would say it's a very control heavy meta, and that's the kind of thing that Mike thrives in, just from being a teammate of his and playing with him. He is a control player at heart, and we cannot express how proud we are of you, Mike. Congratulations, man. We're gonna have his profile here on the channel tomorrow, ideally, so stay tuned for that. I should also mention that the deck lists for this event will either be down in the description or in the pinned comment. Just at the time of recording, PPG hasn't quite gotten to upload those yet, but I mean, they're probably still at the convention, so I'm going to give them some time for that. But yeah, check the pinned comment or the description. I will post the deck list links there when they are posted publicly by PPG. And once again, I can never shout them out enough. Huge shout out to PPG because they always run the best tournaments. It's just unbelievable. Anyways, going to second place, we have Launch again. I'm assuming this is blue-red. Did very well at the Edison event, coming in first place in that tournament. I talked about it last week, but I'll recap a little bit. I think Launch is actually a pretty solid deck in this format, especially when you consider the Trunks Vegeta matchup. Trunks Vegeta being one of the most popular decks as far as Ultimate Squad format goes, but interestingly enough, there's no Trunks Vegeta in this top 8. That is kind of wild for one of the most popular decks of this format historically, just not converting into the top 8. But again, Launch, I think, does have a very good matchup in that regard. I even think that the Gamma matchup might be pretty good too. I'm not sure if this list from the Edison event was siding or maining Dirty Burst, but I think that's a very realistic card to play in Launch. So not only do you have answers to the 9-drop cell, but you also have good barrier removal for their small androids. Gamma players love to spam the Android 17 Rebellious Will because just the fact that it's a 15k barrier battle card, it's very hard for your opponent to remove, so it's almost like a form of permanent board state building. But it's just very good that launch has easy access to be able to kill barrier battle cards, so it seems like a good pick here. And of course, it seems like a great pick going into Zenkai, assuming there's no bans or erratas to the deck or strategy, so that seems pretty good. We have an SS3 reboot as well. So again, just speaking to the control side of this format, Blue Baby, obviously super control. SS3 reboot, just like very control-y, very floodgate heavy. Even launch, I would say, is going to put a pretty big kind of importance on board control. Not that it's got like these huge endgame boss monsters. I think launch is pretty much going to try to win out by flooding the board and just, you know, kind of starving the opponent of resources. But it's still definitely a slow deck, very reactive deck to what the opponent's doing. And SS3 reboot's no exception to that. Still a very control-y deck. Mono blue seems to be very good this format in a different number of builds. And then we have 2 U7 Goku. So our highest representative of aggro here and the most highly rep deck in this top cut, U7 Goku. Just, you know, it's expected at this point. It's not going anywhere. I do think U7 Goku actually does pretty well into these blue matchups, but I will say this format, more than more recent formats, feels very dice rolly. And I think that's just because of how they've kind of taking this new approach to aggro, you know, hitting a lot of the free play cards, not letting anything be too undercosted. Like U7 Goku, in my opinion, is a very good metric for what an aggro deck should be. You can't just automatically destroy all the control decks, but you do have a very good time against the slower decks because they take a fair amount of time to set up, and if you can punish them before they set up comfortably, I think you can win the match most of the time. But again, that kind of takes a seasoned player, an experienced player that knows how to play aggro against control. It's definitely an art form. It's not just like hand this person the aggro deck and they should beat control every single time. It's not that simple right now, which I do think is a good thing for the game and the health of the game and the competitive integrity overall. But again, I do think that U7 is probably where aggro should be. And I know a lot of people have things to say about U7. I get it. It's frustrating to play against when you know, their battle cards cost 1 and their boss monsters are really strong for what they cost. But I mean, I always think about the aggro we used to have, like Storm, like Vegex, all these free play crazy aggro decks, turn 1, turn 2, kill King Vegeta, and U7 to me just seems so fair in comparison. So I think U7 Goku's fine, very strong deck, and I expect it to still be very popular going forward. Then we have 1 Golden Frieza. This is really cool. I have no idea what this list looks like, so I'll be very excited to look at it once PPG posts the deck list. But Golden Frieza is one of my favorite decks, man. It's so fun to play. It's been very hard to play in this format because of how popular red is, though, because they have such an easy time picking off your 1-drops even during your own turn. And if you guys know how Golden Frieza works, you need your 1-drops to be able to pop them with your leader to restand your energy, do all that kind of stuff. So I guess we're taking a little bit of a seat back from red being so popular, although it's still within the meta, don't get me wrong. Red is still here. I mean, we have 2 U7s and 1 GT. But I guess, like, if you go to a tournament and you only expect to play red maybe 3 rounds out of 10, I guess your odds of playing Golden Frieza are pretty decent. And then GT Goku, I mean, honestly, not much to talk about. It's just like U7 Goku Light, where it's just a slightly worse red deck, and it's been slightly less represented over time, but it's still pretty good. And then Gogeta Xeno apparently went first in Swiss, got knocked out in top 8 from what I heard. But yeah, Gogeta Xeno, this is not the first time it's topped in this format. And considering the huge hits it took on the Ultimate Squad ban list, and the fact that this was a huge tournament with lots of rounds, I mean, the fact that it made it in top 8 was kind of crazy. So that covers the Otakon event. We do have one more tournament to talk about that took place in Germany. This was a regional case tournament from what I was told. 57 players, best of 3. So even though it's definitely a smaller player count than Otakon, BO3 always offers good data because, you know, again, we're reducing that variance. The better deck should theoretically shine to the top. So I'll go down the list here. We have U7 taking first place. We have Trunks Vegeta taking second. We have a Gamma in third. King Cold in fourth. King Cold is one that we haven't seen this format very much. I think this might be the first time I'm talking about King Cold in Ultimate Squad format. Seems like a good deck, and honestly, it looks like more than 1 King Cold top tier. Yeah, 2 King Cold in this top 16. Solid green deck. Is it as good as Cooler or Cell Reboot? I don't really think so. I think you run into a problem of clogging on your extra cards quite a bit. That's just something you can't really avoid with a deck like this. But still, probably one of the better rogue green decks. Then we have a 5th place Agent of Destruction. Definitely a more pure aggro deck, where in this format, we're much more used to seeing these aggro mid-range hybrids. AOD is much more of like a full gas aggro deck, and I think you can definitely punish a lot of decks that aren't prepped for it with AOD. Then we have a Gamma in 6th, a 7th U7, Gamma in 8th and 9th, Trunks Vegeta in 10th, 11th, Android 16. Android 16 just being another take on blue-green compared to Gamma. You're not really playing the same exact game as Gamma, where I think Gamma can be a little bit more spammy out of the energy, but Android 16 has a lot of battle tricks. A turn 3 Boo Unison is always really, really good, so I do think that's one of the things that Android 16 has going for it. And then 12th and 14th, we have Raditz. So, I don't know, man. Like, going back to Nats format, when they were, when things were looking like Cell Surge was going to get hit, I kind of thought Raditz might be able to do some things in that space, because the leader can actually take the opponent's life without giving them a +1 in card advantage, and that's super interesting. The leader also searches for cards and pitches cards like Cell Surge, albeit it's a selective search, so you have to find the worthwhile Vegetas, Raditzes, and Nappas to play, but you can still search them and pitch your Rebrands, pitch your Sand Instincts, so that might be kind of cool. I don't know, I definitely would like to see those lists as well. Then we have Android 21 in 15th, and then King Cold wrapping it up in 16th place. So this one overall, I mean, definitely a large concentration of the meta decks, like Gamma, Trunks, U7, definitely widely represented here. But then we have a few outliers, like 2 Raditz, 2 King Cold, and AOD. Definitely very interesting stuff at this event, and BO3 again leads to some good data. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you guys learned something. Again, check later for those links to those deck lists. I'll drop them down in the description or pinned comment when I get them. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.